2023. At this time, I'm calling the meeting to order, and I will invite Reverend David Elliott from St. James AME Zion Church to come down and lead us in prayer, and then we'll follow that with a pledge of allegiance. If you'll stand, please. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, man. Good evening, council. Let us bow our heads for a word of prayer. God of mercy, God of love, rain on us from heaven above. Lord, we ask that you would come and continue to cover our city, oh God, that you will cover our city officials, dear Lord. We pray that everything is done in decency and order, and Lord, that you will get the glory in everything that we do. We bless your name. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen. You join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mayor Ham.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak.
Present.
Councilwoman Jones.
Present.
Councilman Broadway.
Present.
Councilwoman Matthews.
Present.
Councilman Gaylor.
Present.
Councilman Batts.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Before we move to further business, I'd like to make the announcement that I make at each meeting now. If you're here to speak for the items of the budget, you do not need to sign in. However, if you're here for public comment period, you do need to sign in at the table over here by the officer. So please sign in if you're going to speak on the public comment period. So at this point, we'll approve the minutes of the work session and regular meeting of May 15, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all approved, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. We'll also approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 26, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the work session and regular meeting of May 15, 23, and the minutes of the special meeting of May 26? Is there a second?
Second.
In discussion? If not, all approving, please signify by raising your hand. Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Okay, we have some presentations for Goldsboro Youth Council. I believe we have some of those members here tonight. Come in right now.
Good evening, Mayor Hunt. We have half of the room tonight. Thank you so much for your time this evening, for allowing us to acknowledge our 2023 graduates from the Goldsboro Mayor's Youth Council. It was 2019 when I last came before Mayor Chuck Allen and Council to present our graduating seniors. So we do have we have 8 this year. We have 3 present, 1 on the way, and another special recognition we like to present on tonight. So I'd like to first start off by acknowledging a new staff member to the city, Mr. Bradley Wilson, who has been active in assisting the Mayor's Youth Council and serving as a second advisor. So I'd like to appreciate him and acknowledge him for all of his work with the Youth Council this year. He's been with the city a little over a year. He's not here tonight, but he's tuning in. Seniors that are not present, I'd like to acknowledge first, and then I will call up the seniors that are here one by one, ask their families to come up and join them. Mayor, we have their certificates there. If you can present certificates one at a time, take an individual picture, and then we'll do a group photo at the end with just the members. So Mr. Thomas Gurley could not make it tonight, but he is a graduate of Wayne Country Day. Ms. Shreya Patel is a graduate of Wayne School of Engineering. Braxton Morton is a graduate of Wayne School of Engineering. Natalie Moore is a graduate of Goldsboro High School. Have some nice senior photos.
Here we go.
Okay. Now I just need it back because Lillian's on her way. So she won't be first. Okay, so first up will be Ian Wade. I'd like for Ian and his beautiful village to come up and join us. They are so beautiful. Everybody not coming, Ian? Yes, please, everybody, like the whole village, to come stand with Ian. Ian, please go get your drink. Okay, great.
Why don't you guys turn around and face that way?
Great grandma says she's hiding. So Ian Wade, I'd like to present Ian Wade. He is a graduate of Wayne Preparatory School.
Alicia, you want to use the mic and turn around?
Yeah, let me do that.
Just take the microphone and go MC.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so we're changing the game a little bit. Okay, so Ian Wade is a graduate of Wayne Preparatory School. He served on the youth council for the past 2 years, most recently being elected to serve as executive board chair for the youth council for this year. Ian has served as president of Student Government Association at Wayne Preparatory, also a graduate and an NC academic scholar. Ian is currently attending Wayne Community College studying criminal justice with a plan to transfer to a 4-year university. Ian plans to join the North Carolina Highway Patrol and run for public office, possibly the mayor of Goldsboro in 2022.
How do you find 5 days from July? Are you finished?
Yes, we can take a photo.
We did it. We did it.
Yes.
You gotta get real place.
One more.
You gotta look out there.
It's a neat man. All right.
Let me just, before you leave, let me just say, I've gotten to know this guy here a little bit in the last year or so, as a member of the youth council, but also he and I were sort of co-captains for our youth council softball team. And we put up a valiant fight against the adult Seymour Johnson Air Force Base teams there last year. We lost, but we did a good job. And we went out there. I have to elaborate here. Felicia wanted to have a softball team in the youth council. And I've played a lot of softball in my life, so she asked me to want to be the captain of it. And we went out and practiced the first day before the day before the tournament. But I didn't know what we were getting into in terms of the tournament. And we had about, how many students? I said maybe 12. And they were mostly juniors, were they not juniors from different schools. And we had some people that knew how to throw a ball, and we had some people that had never seen a ball. But we worked with them for about an hour or two, and it really, you could see the transition from people that didn't know how to do swing a bat or throw a ball. So we went out there Saturday morning, and there were like 10 or 12 adult, I'm talking about airmen and airwomen out there, and we were double elimination. I'm not sure if it had been a 5 elimination, but we never made it. But we had a good time, didn't we? And then Lynn had invited me out to the school to take a tour of the and then last week I went out, week before last, I guess it was, went out to graduation. So I think this guy here, whatever his ambition is, he's going to achieve it. He's got a lot of solid attitude. He's got this family backing him here, and I'm very proud to know you, sir. And I'm going to follow you along. And you may be sitting in that seat one of these days.
Make sure that mic's on. Okay. Who's next?
Thank you so much, Mayor, Ian, and family. Next up, we have Jonah Williams. I'd like for Jonah and his family to come up. You may recognize Jonah from before Councilman Aycock departed the council. He recognized Jonah for his earning of Eagle Scout. So Jonah's a familiar face. So Jonah Williams graduated from Eastern Wayne High School.
Everybody face them.
Okay, that's right. We're going to do this. Okay. Jonah graduated from Eastern Wayne High School. He served in the youth council for 1 year. Jonah has served for 8 years as a member of the Faith Alliance Youth Ministry. He has been recognized as National Society of High School Scholar. Jonah has been awarded Eastern Wayne High School Star Student and A&B Honor Roll. Jonah will be attending UNC Pembroke this fall, majoring in education with concentrations in social studies and history, and would like to teach middle or high school.
So, Jonah, you've accomplished a lot of things too, as just stated here. I know your mother, your brother, this is your brother? I'm very proud of you. It's something for you to be proud of too. You know, I was here when you were awarded the Eagle Scout, and that in itself is a big, big accomplishment. You're in a very small category of people who accomplished that. I wish you the very best of luck to you, sir. And you come back to Goldsboro, as I tell the graduates of high school that go off to college, or you don't go off to college, you stay here. But come back to Goldsboro and make Goldsboro a better place for us all. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So next up we have Andrew Reynolds. Andrew and his mom, please come forward. Andrew is a graduate of Wayne Christian School. He served as his class valedictorian. Andrew has served on the youth council for 2 years. This current year, he was elected by his peers to serve as vice chair of the youth council. Andrew was also nominated and elected to serve as a member of the state of North Carolina's Youth Advisory Council. Andrew this year was accepted in the North Carolina General Assembly House Page program. Andrew has served alongside of me with the Wayne County Juvenile Crime Prevention member as an active youth member. Andrew also engaged in junior leadership program with the Chamber of Commerce. Andrew also was an active volunteer with the Wayne County Restorative Justice Program. Andrew also volunteered with Kids Work Youth Program. He's also a special events volunteer with Salem Advent Christian Church. Andrew will be attending UNC Chapel Hill Go Tar Heels this fall, majoring in contemporary European history and law. Congratulations, Andrew.
I tell you, your mother's got to be a proud lady here, proud mama. Those accomplishments that was read off is something to be very proud of. Valedictorian, I don't know how you'd be able to do that with all the other volunteer stuff you were doing. But you've shown us here tonight by what was spoken of you to be a person that's driven to try to achieve and to make a better place for yourself in this world and make those around you a better place as well. So I congratulate you and go Targets.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Reynolds has a house divided. Her daughter is a wolf pack. So we're just waiting on our presentations to come back up. They're working something out over there. But we will proceed. So Miss Lillian Britt has arrived. Lillian, is your family here? Okay. Okay. Miss Lillian Britt is a graduate of Wayne Christian School. She was selected to serve as her graduating class salutatorian. She has been on the Youth Council for 1 year. She's also served as Student Government Vice President. She's been nominated to the elected to the National Honor Society. She's participated in junior leadership. She served on her school's softball and volleyball teams. Lillian is attending Campbell University this fall, majoring in kinesiology in Campbell's physician assistant program. Lillian has also received a merit scholarship at Campbell University, in addition to $160,000 in scholarships to Campbell University. Congratulations, Lillian.
So, what can I say about you? The fact that you, like the others, have accomplished a lot in your years in high school, or school for that matter. And going on to a higher level of education, I'm sure that you've got your future planned out for you, subject to change as they all do, but nevertheless, something to be proud of. I'm sorry your family couldn't be here with you tonight. I'm sure they would be as proud of you as we are here to congratulate you on your accomplishments. And thank you also for being a part of the Youth Council. Your devotion to that and activities in it is very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And last but not least, I'd like to recognize he's not a graduating senior, but Brendan Zing will be leaving the Youth Council this year. So Brendan, your family, come on up. I think Mom went out to the restroom. Okay, we'll grab her when she comes back in. So let me first introduce Ivan Zing, served on the Youth Council. He's Brendan's older brother. He served on the Youth Council his freshman and sophomore year, but Mom pushed him to the North Carolina School of Science and Math. And so we were so happy for that. And so then Brendan came along. And he's been the baby of the group, so Mom pushed Brendan as well. So Brendan has been accepted as well. Ivan just graduated from the North Carolina School of Science and Math. And Ivan, where are you going? I forgot.
I'm going to Cornell University.
So Brendan has served the Youth Council for 2 years. He served on the executive board as secretary. He is completing his sophomore year at Wayne School of Engineering. He was also nominated and elected to serve on the State Youth Council's Youth Advisory Council. He's been a member of the Engineering School's Clique Club, and again, he's been accepted to the North Carolina School of Science and Math. Is Miss Whaley here? Okay, Miss Deborah Whaley is one of his teachers, and Ivan from Greenwood Middle School, who's been instrumental and still is actively involved in their lives. So Miss Whaley, if you're watching, thanks for being there. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, another impressive resume, I think, and your brother, you got to live up something.
That's what he's afraid of.
Yeah, and you know, it's really a pleasure to stand here with this group of young folks and your families and your brother in this case, and listen to the accomplishments that all of them have made. I mean, it's just really, really a pleasant thing to hear about our youth today. Our youth council is made up of people of this caliber of individuals, male and female. Felicia over here is their sort of their Paul mother or den mother, or whatever you want to call her. But she puts a lot of time and effort in this, and let me give you a round of applause for this. I think I'm going to speak for these young folks and say I think they all appreciate what she does as well. She does put forth a lot of time in this program. And these students that come to this program come from our different high schools in the county. And they are a good representative of what we want to see in our youth. They have an opportunity to come together. They meet students from other schools that they would not normally associate with because of the geographical makeup of where they live, the school, and so forth. That in itself, in my opinion, is one of the benefits of this program. But to listen to what you all have accomplished, you've all been as students, and there are more, as was mentioned, that are not here tonight. I've had an opportunity to meet them when the first class that they had, and they got together and elected officers and so forth, and they've learned a lot. They do volunteer work as part of the organization, and they just make a great contribution to our city, to our county, and I really appreciate everything that you all do, and appreciate everything that you do as well. So again, thank you all so much.
All the graduates, and Brendan, if you can come back up for a group photo with the mayor, and we're done. Thank you so much, Mayor and Council, for your time. Thank you as well, City Manager, for your support of the Youth Council since you've been here. Thank you so much.
Supposed to be taking a picture with them.
Lisa, you ought to get in the picture.
Yes.
And
I need you to get your stool.
students and family members, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the ceremony, or the rest of the meeting, or if you can leave if you like.
They don't want they don't want budget.
Okay. I have to say that I truly do enjoy interacting with that group of young people. They are really focused on their time, current time in this world, as well as the future. And so there's hope for us after all. So anyway, so this time we're going to go into public hearings, and we're going to be dealing with some planning issues, and I'll tell you before, so you don't get disappointed or so you know what's going on. We're not going to have public speaking tonight because we're not prepared for that. So I'm going to ask the planning director to come up, and he will open up the item, and then I will ask for a motion to continue it to July 20th. So go ahead, sir.
June 20th.
June 20th.
And I don't know if the
Should be up there.
should be working.
Should be.
If not, I don't know. Yeah, just to build off of what the mayor said, Planning Commission was not able to meet at their regularly scheduled meeting. That Planning Commission meeting will be June 12th, and the public is more than welcome to come to that. I'm just going to briefly introduce these rezoning items to you, just so you know what's going to be taking place on the 20th. The first one is Z623, the Goldsboro Masonic Lodge on North Berkeley. This is a general rezoning from the residential 12 general business split zoning district to a general business district. Here you can just see where it's located on North Berkeley. And then staff is recommending that City Council open and continue this hearing to June 20th.
So this is I'm going to open the public hearing, but I ask for a motion to continue the public hearing to June 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all signify by raising your hand. Okay. We'll continue that to the 20th of June. Next.
Mayor, if you can close it now, please.
Oh, yes. I'll close the public hearing for Z623.
Thank you.
Next one is Z723. This is another general rezoning at 103 West Patetown Road. It's a rezoning request to go from the general industry to the general business district. Here you can see where the property is located on Patetown Road. And staff has the same recommendation to open and continue to June 20th.
Second.
Let me open it. So this is opening. I am opening the public hearing for Z723 and ask that it be continued to June 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is any discussion? If not, I'll signify by raising your hand. Okay, I'll close the public hearing on Z723 and move to item E.
This is a conditional rezoning for Performance East for a parcel located on Tommy's Road. They're asking for a conditional highway business zoning district. Here you can see the parcels that are going to be involved with this rezoning. And just open and continue to the 20th is staff's recommendation.
So I am opening this Z823 for public hearing, but ask for a public hearing to continue to June 20th, 23.
So moved. Second.
Any motions made and seconded? Any discussion? If not, I'll approve and signify by raising your hand. Okay, thank you. Item F.
Close. Mayor? Close it,
I'm
please.
sorry. I'm closing the public hearing on Z823.
And the final one is another conditional rezoning for Hawthorne Trail located at Kyler Best Road. This is a conditional rezoning to a residential 6 conditional district. Here you can see where the property is located at the intersection of Kyler Best and West New Hope Road. And staff is recommending this be open and continued to the 20th.
So I am opening Z923 to public hearing, but request a motion to continue the public hearing in June 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second? Did I get a second? Okay. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, if I may, since this is the last one, Austin, would you just brief us on what happened? Why are we not able to take these 4 up tonight?
Yes, sir. So Planning Commission was scheduled to meet on May 25th. This was scheduled due to the Memorial Day holiday. And the final hours leading up to that Planning Commission meeting, we were unable to establish a quorum. We had some members that were unable to be at that meeting. And because we were unable to get a meeting set to get Planning Commission's recommendation, we don't need to conduct this public hearing to make a decision without their recommendation on it.
So each of these has now been properly noticed, and it'll be at the next Planning Commission?
So, yeah, the applicants have been notified. The city website calendar has been updated to reflect that new Planning Commission meeting, and I've been in communication with other interested folks as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so open the public hearing, but continue hearing on Z923 to June 2023 is the motion.
We've done that. We're finished.
Okay.
And now you just need to vote.
We gotta vote.
Okay, and I'll close the public hearing on Z923.
We need
We need to vote.
We got a motion and a second. We just
Yep.
needed to vote.
So is there a motion to continue?
We just have to vote.
You got a motion and a second. You just need a vote.
All in favor?
Okay, all right. All in favor? Signify by raising your hand.
Thank you.
Moving too fast for me.
And now give you.
Now,
close
we
it.
can discuss FY 23-24.
Close it.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on Z923, Hawthorne Trail. Now we'll open the public hearing Well, first of all, we're here FY '23 budget finance.
Mayor and Council, good evening again.
Good evening, ma'am.
So, North Carolina General Statute 15912 requires the governing board to conduct a public hearing prior to the adoption of the annual operating budget. Statute further requires that the budget officer file notice of the availability of the budget for public inspection and the date and time of the public hearing. The advertisement was run in the Saturday, May 13th, Goldsboro News Argus. The manager's recommended budget was published as advertised on May 15th, 2023 on the city's website. City Council met on Friday, May 26th for a special budget work session in the large conference room of City Hall. Now what I'm going to be doing is doing a short presentation to recap what we talked about on May 26th for our public who may not have been able to watch that meeting. So attached in your packet, I gave you a copy of the affidavit of publication of the budget, and then I gave you a 2-page spreadsheet that shows the changes that we talked about when we were at that May 26th meeting. Expenditures and revenues. The first page are the expenditures by department, and across the top are the columns that go by fund, and that gets to what we're going to have as the proposed adopted budget that we're going to talk about a little bit this evening. The second page is the revenue recap that shows by fund and revenue source. So on this first presentation, we have this slide. This is from your presentation book that you received on Friday, and it gives an overall recap of the recommended budget for 23-24 and then the FY23 adopted budget. The FY23 adopted budget came in at $78.9 million, which this current year's manager's recommended budget is at $75.8 million. And if you will notice in both slides, the general fund and the utility fund take up about 96% of that total $75+ million budget. So that's just a slice there for you. Next slide. So the next slide talks about a fund summary. Now, before in the manager's recommended budget, the far right column it says manager submitted. That's the $75.8 million total that we're talking about amongst the funds that the operating funds that we're dealing with. The far right column that's added, the adopted tentative, incorporates all those changes that we talked about on May the 26th, which brings us to a $76.6 million total operating budget. Next slide, please. So for the revenue summary, the $75.8 million manager's recommended budget, approximately 88% is being made up of charges for services, revenue from other agencies, which that would be like your sales tax, your various federal and state grant revenues, and then our tax revenues, which are property tax revenues, make up about 25%. But that total, those three big pieces of the pie, are about 88% of that $75.8 million budget. Next slide, please. So the next page we talk about the expenditure summary, and roughly 76% is made up of the salary and benefits and the operating expenses, the 48% and the 28% that you see. And that totals up to that $75.8 million budget that we're talking about tonight. Next slide, please. So I tried to recap some of the revenue assumptions for the council and for the public. So within this manager's recommended budget, we have a property tax increase of approximately 5 cents. Now the manager's recommended budget was a 4-cent property tax increase, but per council directive on the 26th, we increased it 1 penny to to do a $400 net bonus to the employees. So that 5 penny tax increase is going to generate about $1.3 million. Sales tax, as we discussed, the manager recommended about a 5% increase in sales tax, which generates about $223,000. In other revenues, I just want to mention, because we put out that new manual of fees and charges, which is a compilation of all the city fees that for the first time, we've put them together in a manual of fees and charges to be included in the adopted budget. There are various changes to cost of service fees that were included. In the stormwater fund, the manager recommended approximately 5% increase in the ERU fees, which will generate about $80,000 in revenue. In the utility fund, charges for services, there is recommended a 4% increase in all water and sewer rates. And then in other revenues, we also had a few changes to the manual of fees and charges within the utility fund. Next slide. So the expenditure assumptions that we had is in the manager's recommended budget, there is a 2% COLA effective for the first pay period in fiscal 24. The approximate cost is about $607,000. There is a 1% merit effective for the first payroll in 2024 with an approximate cost of $152,000. As per council recommendation on the 26th, we have included a $400 net bonus paid between biweekly 24 and 25, which is around Thanksgiving, with an approximate cost of $302,000. There was a retirement increase in the rates from the local government employee retirement system. That is going to cost approximately $270,000 just for that increase for the non-law enforcement. Law enforcement will be about a $67,000 increase. Also within the manager's recommended budget, we have included 4 new full-time employees: nurse, golf maintenance tech, a Paramount technical director, and an administrative assistant in engineering. In capital outlay, the manager has recommended approximately $4.1 million in capital with financing of a little over $2 million. And I was going to go over briefly those changes that we talked about on the 26th. I'm going to get to that page. So, next slide. I think this should be, okay, I know this is way too hard. Your copy is a little bit more legible. So within the mayor and council, the Friends of Seymour funding, that is funded within the council's budget. There is no increase, so we decreased other expenses to fund that. Finance, we had to increase the property tax collection fees for the additional penny that was recommended. That was about $4,100. Within planning, there is an increase in the temporary labor for the roadside cleanup of $22,200. We reduced tree replacement, and that's going to be transferred to the Parks and Rec Department for $3,400. We are reducing enhancement areas, and we're transferring that to Parks and Rec. That's $60,880. We're reducing tree service, and we're transferring that to the Streets Department of $19,115. Those are offsets. They do not increase the bottom line of the budget. Let's see here. And then within the general fund, we are reducing the contingency because we're trying to fund that roadside cleanup, so contingency is getting reduced down to 0. So with all these changes, that revised total expenditures now becomes $49.6 million. Within the stormwater fund, what we're doing is we've got the contingency for the 5% stormwater fees per the manager's recommendation. We're moving that $80,000 into contingency, which we have quite a few stormwater projects that need to be done. So that will sit there to be used for future stormwater projects once those have been determined. And then within the utility fund, the manager instructed that we budget for the Seymour Johnson mag meter for $100,000, and that's going to be funded with utility fund capital reserve. So there's an increase there. And then I included the utility capital reserve appropriation of $100,000 to fund that mag meter. Within the occupancy tax fund, we discussed the Bryan Multi-Sports Complex equipment shed for the $250,000 appropriation, and then also the funding of the raises. So if you look on that slide at the very bottom where it says $400 net bonus estimated for the employees, you've got the cost for each fund in each column. So the general fund is a cost of approximately $251,000. So I did want to explain now the net, we talked about the property tax was about $260. That is what we should get. However, statutorily, I am not allowed to budget for that. I can only budget for the average property tax collection rate in the current year. So that number comes out to about $231. So how I made up the difference is I felt comfortable increasing investment income because we've been getting such a good return on our money. So that's how we're funding that gap between the property tax revenue that we can budget for and then this cost of the $251. The other funds, as far as the bonus was concerned, they had sufficient contingency, so basically I reduced the contingency and then it will increase the salary and benefits for that, so that's how that's getting paid for. And then the next page, I recap those revenues, but I think I've pretty much explained where those are coming from. So at this time, if you can go to the last slide, please. So at this point in time, the mayor is going to open the public hearing, and then what I'm going to sit down, but I would say if the council has any additional recommendations where they want to change anything in the budget, we will take those, and then I'll have to start working, because I told you it's probably a 3 or 4 day process for me to compile all these numbers now into a budget ordinance so that I can get that ready for the clerk by Monday at 5 o'clock. So I'll take anything that you tell me to do or you direct manager to do, and we'll get that put in. I'm going to turn it over to the manager for any final comments, and unless you have any questions for me, I'm done. Okay.
Good job. Thank you, Catherine. I don't have anything to add at this point, sir. I'm ready for the public comments.
Okay, so does the council have any changes they want to speak to at this point before we hear from the public? If not, this is a public hearing, and anyone who wishes to come and speak, please do so. I will tell you before you come up and speak that this is probably the best prepared budget that I've had been involved in 8 years. And Councilman Broadway, who's been here 12 years, says the same thing. So a lot of effort went into this budget. There's a lot of information in it, and I hope during the coming week that if you have any comments that you don't want to make tonight, you make those known to us. But at this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to come forward and speak. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Phyllis Merritt James, 503 Cardinal Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina. I would like to first express appreciation for the work that's been done on behalf of the various department heads, the city manager, and this council to get this budget ready. I listened attentively to the past meetings on the May 15th, May 26th, and the recap today regarding the same. Budget concerns, when you look at the whole budget that was presented, firefighter and public safety positions have been frozen, yet there's a request to spend $250,000 for an equipment shelter for the multi-sports complex. How about divert that to a funded position instead of a place? Fundraising and grants should be considered for the storage building. Street repaving and not just patching, as aforementioned during an earlier discussion. As I previously stated in earlier sessions, we have a beautiful downtown. Our streets throughout the city should look the same. Wish list for streets and sidewalks should be Royal Avenue end to end and Herman Street to Waymore Drive. Patching, I know in District 5, has not been successful. In the 33 years I've lived there, we have not repaved our area in over 25 years. And we're dodging potholes continuously. So if you've not been to First Church of God and not hit your tire, car alignments aren't cheap. Safety is a big issue with wheelchairs, walkers, and bikers being dangerously close to being hit on those areas. It would help with the students from high school going to class at Wayne Community College who may not have transport. Also, those who work along these strips, Spence, Wayne, or anywhere else, would help. The 4% water and sewer rate increase and stormwater fee increase of 5%, again, would be an undue hardship on many in the city of Goldsboro, especially our seniors and low to moderate income citizens. There will be a property reappraisal, which will generate monies. I don't know what the rate for the residential versus commercial mix is. I know we need to improve our fund balance. We definitely need to do that. And I realize we cannot operate from a deficit, which is fast approaching. There was a slide that compared utility rates, and we are higher than Greenville. Is there anything that we can glean from them? The mag meter for Seymour Johnson, I'm a military wife, can it be paid from any other DOD grant monies or any other fees? Increase in sales tax overall, that'll benefit all those around that benefit from amenities in the city, and perchance that, of course, going to feed over and help our streets, fund balance, and firefighter and public safety positions. Cybersecurity was cut out. If you've been receiving notifications like we have in the healthcare community, ransomware is real. Can we reach out to different universities for externships to homegrown our own force? Consider loan forgiveness option or tap into any other options within like an infrastructure bill and get grants, because we really, really, really need to have that at the forefront of our community. Be judicious with the fees we're willing to pay consultants. What is included in the fee of $600,000 for the water reclamation consultant? Finally, as we're weighing regarding change from the state health plan to something else as a way to save money, it's important to look carefully before jumping into a plan that is cheaper that will cost more at the end. Hiring a full-time occupational health nurse was a good first step for investing in the health of our workers and cost savings. A healthier workforce decreases costs in the long run by having access to quality health care. Please have clinical as well as financial eyes looking at any proposal in order to serve our workforce well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Dr. David L. Craig. I live at 509 Shelley Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina, 27534. There's a couple of things I want to draw attention to. The first thing I want to draw attention to is the wastewater treatment plant. I'm assuming that the $4,816,000 for the water reclamation plan is going to go towards the supposed $101 million to build the basins. Let's be real. Those basins are never going to be built. Never. Not only that, the $101 million that y'all put in this budget has increased from $35 million from last year's budget. Let's talk about the water treatment plant. We were sold a bill of goods saying that we need to build a new water treatment plant, $85 million. Then when the assessment came in, the fixes only required, I believe, $235,000. Now you're beating the drum again, saying that we need a new water treatment plant. Let's be real about what's going on here. You're trying to squirrel away money to do the projects you want to do. It's okay, in a way, if you was honest about it, but you're not honest about it. I'm also disappointed in this council, and I'm going to be straight up with you, because I'm the person that's posing you questions when you ought to be asking the city manager questions, when you ought to be asking the finance director questions. Why is it that Dr. Craig has to ask these questions? Is it my job or is it your job? I want to briefly talk about how that on page 51 of the May 15, 2023 agenda packet, it says that there's $9 million, I'm just going to stop there, $9 million in American Rescue Funds that the city has. However, under the proposed budget, you actually said that $1,974,000,000 was spent from the American Rescue Plan. Why is it that I have to come up here? I don't want to come up here. I think that if you were honest about what you're trying to do, you know, trying to build a new Herman Park Center, and you got it the right way, I quite possibly could get with you. But the way that you're doing this, and we have a 24% poverty rate, And when the comparisons are done between our utilities and other cities' utilities of a similar size, they have a 12. Their poverty rate is like 12%. I feel like, just speaking clearly, I feel like certain persons have turned our city government into a political machine to accomplish certain objectives. And if I have to, y'all know what I'll do. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. I see no one coming forward, so I'll close the public hearing on the FY 23-24 budget.
Thank you, Dr. Craig.
At this time, I'll open it up for public comment period. Items that you would like to speak about, anyone wishing to speak, public comment period. Okay, as a reminder, for those that wish to speak, we allocate 30 minutes for this period, and each speaker is given 3 minutes to speak. The time will be shown on the screen up there. You'll get a 30-second notice before your 3 minutes is up, and then when the time is up, you'll get another notice. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening.
The other day, sitting on my porch, I witnessed an almost very tragic accident. I live on a street that crosses Elm and Ash, and the streets are not wide enough for parking on both sides of the street. The accident would have occurred if two cars were heading in the opposite direction on Audubon Avenue, and there was a car parked and a utility vehicle parked beside each other, and they both came to that small space that would allow them to come to pass. One had to back down, and thankfully one did back down. I'm like to suggest that on streets that intersect, that cross Elm, Ash, and Royal Avenue, that parking only be allowed on one side of the street, because the streets are not wide enough for parking on two sides of the street to have traffic to pass through those spaces. My second comment, I have a question, is the public housing, is that a part of the city of Goldsboro? Is that under your aegis?
The mayor appoints a board to the Goldsboro Housing Authority. They have their own board. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are a part of the Goldsboro organization, but they have a separate board of directors that basically guides them in their decision-making process.
Well, I'm presenting a proposal I'm preparing a proposal for the public housing, and I just wanted to know if I can, if I have a problem with it, can I come back here and address it here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Got the list.
Or you have a list?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
go ahead.
The next speaker is Bill Pratt.
Good evening, Mr. Pratt.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Good to see you. I came to talk about the Hawthorne Trail, and I understand it was moved because you weren't prepared or have enough notes about it. And I would like to thank you for your support and your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rodney Robinson.
Good evening, Mr. Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm not here to make any comments today. I'm here in honor of National Gun Violence Awareness Month, and I'm here to briefly call off some names of citizens here in Goldsboro that we have lost, to remind the citizens, to remind the City Council, to remind everyone of these loved ones. Some are without injustice. So Alexandria Thomas, Stephanie Smith, which is my niece, Aubrey Redding, Gianna Pearsall, Patrick White, Xavier Cortez Ramir, Maynard Perez Vasquez, Raheem Holloway, Cleveland Ward, Tabarjay Kelly, Jeffrey Williams, James Michael, Deshanti Waters, Marcus Flo, Tangia Etheridge, Rashid Jackson, Kenneth Rayford, Costello Reese, Cassia DeVale, Eric Brooks, Tyshawn Geyer, Catherine McLeod, Keith Presnell, Jaleel Teachy, Jermaine Gregory, Terrence Drakeford, Brendan Hash, Eric Covington, Sammy Evans, Carlos Benton, who's my brother, Carlos Darton, Terrell James, Molly Carr Bridges, Carla Garcia, Desiante Bryant, who's my classmate, William Braswell, Brandon Jones, Shaheem Rayford, Gina Williams, Tyreek Moody, Antonio Moore, Shy Valentine, Ryan Morgan, Joshua Forbes, Atia Maddox, Sonia Darton, Montez Wilson, Michael Winbush, Vershawn Jenkins, Quentin Keenan, Julius Bryant, Haberner Mosales, Bailey Lynch, Brian Moore, Abdullah Whitaker, who was my mentor, Marcus McLean, Tyrone Jones, Diamond Sansom, Ron Lane, William Austin, Shanika Thompson, Jaquan Crawford, Derek Matthews, Doral Bess, Malia Porter, Spencer Garrison, Tequila Barrett, and Darius Atkins, who's my nephew. I pray that we all remember our loved ones during this month of gun violence. I pray that we all can stand together and come to solutions. I just want to say to the city, to everyone's watching, we all have to do something together. I'm not here to pinpoint anybody here in the council. I'm not here to blame y'all. It's a citizen thing. And I'm going to say this. If you kill one of mine, I'm going to tell it.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson, and I know you well enough to know that you spoke that from your heart. Thank you.
The next speaker is Carl Landgren.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, everyone. Appreciate you opening things to the general public, and I'm not here to ask for any allocation or apportionment of funds. I'm not here to offer any contention or complaints, but just some encouragement and some suggestions and solutions. I'd like to talk about two things, but first, I am just thrilled with the youth we had here this evening. Holy smokes, I just came from the school board meeting, and there were some folks from the youth council there as well who spoke very articulately to the council and some others about mental health challenges within the school system, and excuse me, should have drunk some water, and offered some very well thought out solutions for drug abuse and within the high school system as well, and just meeting the Eagle Scout and other folks here this evening, just about popped the button to live here in Goldsboro where folks like that are offering hope for this rising generation. So that's just wonderful. I'm involved in half a dozen different organizations and causes just to try to help steer Goldsboro, Wayne County, North Carolina, and our republic in the right direction. Wayne County Liberty First is about a 12-year-old organization chaired by Linda Harper. I only brought one card, but I'll leave it for y'all to share amongst yourselves. We have, and I'd like to invite everyone here too as well, who feels a bit of patriotism and wants to affect some positive progress within our communities and within our republic. We have our 10th annual Liberty Seminar coming up on July
22nd. It's a Saturday. It's from 10 till 3. And we always have good speakers, good food, good people, and good ideas. So I'd love to encourage anyone to come and meet some folks who are involved in making some things happen that need to happen. It's a general term, but we're involved in everything from election repair to protecting the rights of preborn and several other causes. The other cause I'd like to mention very briefly is Preserve America Now. Again, we are also not asking for any funds. I'll leave these cards for you and information on the back, website, email address, phone number, and just like to ask everyone to prayerfully consider your involvement with that. Won't cost a dime, won't cost but about maybe 5 minutes a day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tasha Adams.
Good evening, Ms. Adams.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and other city officials. I was here maybe last month. I'm the resident of Leslie Street, and so I thought I would do a follow-up with you tonight to let you know I'm still a concerned citizen. I'm still going to speak on behalf of the community, of those individuals who live on Leslie Street and the surrounding streets. But I do want to say this, is that there has not been a time that when there's been a situation on our street, on Leslie Street, that I have called those who protect and serve this community who have not shown up to be there. And that was one of the reasons why I was late, because I was dealing with a situation on Leslie Street, and I had to call those who protect and serve to come out and see about the situation. So I am asking and pleading that we come up with a solution to make our communities safe. And for those who live there, like myself, those of us who live there, we're concerned, and we ask that you continue and work with us, talk to us, and see what our concerns are. I represent one of many. A lot of them are in their 80s, 90s. We have one that's 103. And we are very concerned about where we live. The other thing is, I know that there was concern about budget, but when we talk about our those who protect and serve in blue and black, I do want to say this: positive change is needed and is necessary. And all that I ask is that someone care enough about my community to see that change happens. So in light of that, I would like to say that we need to retain and recruit those individuals that are here to protect and serve in our communities. So let us do what we can to have those individuals be there for us in our time of need, which they have been, but we need more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams.
That's it.
If there are no other individuals wishing to speak during the public comment period, I'll close that session and ask for a review and offer up for adoption the consent agenda items H through R. I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Ham.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Councilman Broadway.
Yes.
Councilwoman Matthews.
Yes.
Councilman Gaylor.
Yes.
Councilman Baps.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is carried. Consent agenda items are approved. We have no items requiring individual action. City manager's report.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate everyone's comments this evening, especially Ms. James and Dr. Craig. Thank you for your budget comments. Take them seriously and appreciate what's said. We'll certainly look at them. In particular, the CIP items, that's done at a particular point in time, and we will update that going forward. You know, we would not execute a $100 million project on the wastewater treatment plant in 1 year, and the very next year do the water treatment plant. So I expect the water treatment plant, due to the recent findings, to be pushed further right. We will adjust that CIP, but as I've run some numbers, the 4% increase will only get you one of those projects. And we certainly hope to expand the wastewater treatment plant, or this city won't grow. So I realize $100 million is a pretty high price tag. This year in the budget, we will refine that through a study, and we'll take a look at that going forward. Hopefully with some economic development here in Goldsboro, when businesses come to town, they can help pay for that. The system development fees we'll be talking about in the very near future. The system development fees, as I talk about that, we had a 45-day public review comment period which ended May 27th. We had no public comments on that. So I will be bringing that to council here to continue forward. Maybe June 20th we will have a presentation on that, and then we will have a public hearing, hopefully on June 20th or in early July on that, and then we can make a decision to implement those fees or not. So appreciate everyone's comments on that. As far as the police department, I would like to recognize we had 6 recent corporal promotions, so congratulations to those officers. We appreciate you staying with the city of Goldsboro and your new leadership positions. With the fire department, they're running a unique camp this summer, a hook and ladder fire camp on July 24th through the 28th. But this is the first year they'll be doing that with only 10 spots available. So if you're interested in sending your 8 to 13-year-old to that camp, please contact the Goldsboro Fire Department. I think that's going to be pretty cool. They'll teach them fire safety and experience the life of a firefighter, and hopefully maybe want to be one someday. So I think that's good stuff. And then the Mayor's Youth Council, you saw some great things this evening. The next year's applications are open until July 31st. It's a great opportunity to learn about city government and hopefully someday serve your city. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. We have some ceremonial documents, and I'm going to start off with Mayor Pro Tem Pollock reading the Juneteenth proclamation.
Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas news of the end of slavery did not reach the frontier areas of the United States, in particular the state of Texas and the other southwestern states, until months after the conclusion of the Civil War, more than 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the Civil War had ended and the enslaved were free. And whereas African Americans who had been slaves in the Southwest celebrated June 19th, commonly known as Juneteenth, as inspiration and encouragement for future generations. And whereas African Americans from the Southwest have continued the tradition of observing Juneteenth for more than 150 years. And whereas Juneteenth began as a holiday in the state of Texas and is now celebrated in 46 states and the District of Columbia as a special day of observance in recognition of the emancipation of all slaves in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth celebrations are being held to honor African American freedom, history, and heritage, while encouraging self-development and respect for all cultures. And whereas slavery was not officially abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States in December 1865. And whereas the faith and strength of character demonstrated by former slaves and the descendants of former slaves remain an example for all people of the United States, regardless of background, religion, or race. And whereas the city of Goldsboro is committed to promoting diversity, racial and cultural harmony. And whereas the Goldsboro City Council has recognized June 19th as an official holiday, now therefore be it resolved that the Goldsboro City Council does hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in the city of Goldsboro, and recognize that the observance of the end of slavery is part of the history and heritage of the United States, and supports the continued nationwide celebration of Juneteenth to provide an opportunity for citizens to learn more about the past and to better understand the experiences that have shaped the United States. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand to fix the seal of the city of Goldsboro. This is the 5th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let me just say before we go to the next one that, as Mayor Pro Tem Pollock just mentioned, June 19th is a holiday here in Goldsboro, as is state, and we will be recognizing that date. But more, just as important is there are a lot of events that are going to be happening around June 19th as well. I encourage the public to be aware of these activities, participate in them, learn about this holiday, this event that was very important in our history. We've seen the activity and interest in June 19th or Juneteenth holiday grow each year now since we've started recognizing it. So I encourage you to do so. Also, next item is the National Gun Violence Awareness Proclamation. As Mr. Robinson spoke eloquently a while ago about friends and family members who have been victims of gun violence, it's not only appropriate, but it's meaningful that we join our nation in recognizing June as June National Gun Violence Awareness Month. So, Councilwoman Matthews, if you'll read the proclamation, please.
National Gun Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. Whereas gun violence touches every segment of our society and impacts people of all ages. It increases the probability of death and incidents of domestic violence, raises the likelihood of fatality by those who intend to injure others and among those who attempt suicide. And it places children and young people at increased risk of physical harm and injury. And whereas many violent crimes and suicide involve the use of a firearm. And whereas practicing safe gun storage protects children, it prevents accidents and reduces gun thefts. And whereas Goldsboro and the state of North Carolina are committing to reducing gun violence, limiting access to those who are unqualified to carry firearms, and encouraging responsible gun ownership in order to keep our community safe. And whereas it is appropriate to set aside time to honor those Americans whose lives are cut short each year by gun violence, and the countless survivors whose lives are forever altered. And whereas orange is the color chosen to honor the victims of gun violence because it is bright, it demands attention, and is the color hunters use to protect themselves and others from harm. And whereas June 2nd through the 4th, 2023 is Wear Orange Weekend, signifying the beginning of National Gun Violence Awareness Month, and anyone can join this campaign by wearing orange to help raise awareness of gun violence and honor the lives of those we have lost. And whereas National Gun Violence Awareness Month honors the many lives that have been cut short by gun violence in our country and supports efforts to reduce gun-related crimes in the United States. And whereas gun violence awareness is highlighted in June, but must be communicated daily, we can all work to end gun violence so that Goldsboro remains safe, vibrant, and a healthy community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Goldsboro City Council does hereby proclaim June 2 through 4, 2023 as Wear Orange Weekend and June 2023 as National Gun Violence Awareness Month in the city of Goldsboro and commend its observance to all citizens. The Goldsboro City Council urges all citizens, business, organizations, and agencies to work collectively to reduce gun violence in our community. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and affix the seal of the city of Goldsboro on this 5th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor.
At this time, I'll ask the council members for any comments they'd like to make. Start with Councilman Batts, please.
Yes, good afternoon. I just want to thank everyone who came up and spoke. I'm listening to you, but thank you so much for being kind, but also expressing your feelings. I think you were sincere what you're talking about. Also, I always wanted to thank our city manager and our first responders. Just thank you for the employees for the city of Goldsboro. Thank you.
Councilman Gaylor.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So, wow, pretty amazing meeting this evening. Some of the names that you read off, I knew personally as well. One of them, I helped deal with the. Well, we won't get into that. That's tough. I respect you for being able to get up and call out names of friends and loved ones, and do it in a way that brings respect and awareness. So thank you for that. Also, of course, this was a budget meeting. As city manager, will tell you I've been a pain in the butt because I don't want to raise anything. it's going to happen in some small amounts because we need to keep up with police officers, we need to keep up with firefighters, we need to keep up with city staff. We cannot let them down, and we can't let our city down by not funding the basic things that we have to do. But even so, we're not getting the things that, I'll just use me as an example so I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. I really wanted to see investment in streets. Okay, cool. But if you have to choose between officers to protect those streets or the asphalt on those streets, which do you choose? Fair point. I really wanted to focus on some economic development programs. Okay, great. But if you don't have people that want to live in your city, you don't have a city that's safe for them, you don't have a city that is in every way viable for them, including schools, what are you doing? And so I respect those around me that have really pushed back. I appreciate y'all for convincing me to change my mind on some things. I still don't love the idea of raising things, but I realize that things cost money, and it's going to be, to some degree, what it is. Lastly, Mayor, thank you so much for bringing the Youth Council in front of us. We talk so much and we beat ourselves up over schools in the city of Goldsboro. You can't live in the city of Goldsboro because you don't have access to schools. And I want to point blank say that that's wrong. It's inaccurate. We have a plethora of options with schools. And I know I'm being long-winded, I'm sorry. Between privates, the charters, and of course our public schools, our new superintendent, if you haven't met him yet, send him an email. I've had the chance to shake his hand and have a conversation with him once already. They know that the investment needs to come into our schools and into our educators, into the administrators, and ultimately into the students. And I believe that they will be on an upswing as well. But this is a good place to live. We have good options. I believe the budget is putting money where it has to go. And I appreciate everyone's work pulling that together. All the department heads that went out to find options. So thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Matthews?
No comment.
Madam Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just want to begin by saying that I'm glad to serve in a city that embraces the contributions of my ancestors. I know a lot across the country is trying to be hidden as far as the contributions that African Americans have made in this country. Some of the primary builders of this country, literally. I wanted to just say that because Juneteenth is a holiday that is tried to be suppressed, as we've seen across the national stage in many areas. So I'm glad to say that Goldsboro has embraced the Juneteenth. I also like to say that, in my closing, how proud I am to serve on a board that serves with integrity and transparency towards its constituents as well as its staff. I believe that our employees are a driving force of our city's existence, and for that reason I will always advocate for our city employees. First, and ensure that as long as I serve, that we have an environment that our employees are proud to work for. I'm gonna stop there. Thank you.
Mr. Broadway?
I have two things. First thing, I'd like to thank the staff, the city, and finance for the best budget I have seen, and the most readable and understandable budget that I've seen in 12 years. And that went through a lot of work and a lot of department heads just letting their egos go away and working for that. The last thing I want to talk about is I was sitting to hear the young man in the back call those names out. I couldn't help but think behind every name he called out, there's a family. A family behind that name. And he read those names as fast as he could for 3 minutes. And think how many family members, how many families were there. Thank you so much, because it brought it home to me, just what violence is doing to us. And then this nice lady here who's been to 2 from Leslie Street, we need to be aware of that and need to talk to her and talk to those people on Leslie Street. She is gone right now, but she was so elegant and so well spoken that Yes, she's back there. I see you. But we've got to beware, and we've got to have citizens that not only will stand up in here, they'll stand up out on the street. And we've got to be able to do it. And there's no nice way to say it. If you see, oh, World War II, if you see something, say something. That's it. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I got. But thank you, because you sure brought it home to me.
Ms. Jones?
Yes, well, I don't want to echo what several of my council people have said, but Ms. Phyllis and Dr. Craig, I want to thank you so much for your comments on the budget. I too have concerns about the budgets. I do not want to increase anything. I know that we will have to. Two of the pieces that I have concern about is the utility increase and the storm water. I do have some concerns, and I'm hoping that we can take a look at other avenues that you have addressed, as well as some other ones that I have in mind that I'm not at liberty to share at this time. Ms. Adams, I'd like to thank you so much for acknowledging our policemen. They are working very hard. I do know that Chief West has reassigned policemen throughout the community because of so much crime, but you know, we gotta have money to fund the police. And right now we don't have that. And so they're doing the best that they can. And I really appreciate you coming forth and sharing that. And Rodney, I'm wearing my orange. And I am very much aware of the deaths throughout the city. And I'm very concerned about it. And kind of on the down low, I have been doing some things, but you'll see some other things. As I've spoken before, I don't want to be long-winded. As I've spoken before, we don't need just visuals. We don't need just walks. We need action. We need action. They're nice, and it's nice to remember, but we need action. We need to come together as a community and have action. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. I'll make a couple comments in closing. One is I don't want to sound redundant, but the effort that's been put in this budget tonight, just talking about up here, is countless hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours that has been talked about amongst the departments, and then department heads with the manager, assistant manager, and our finance director. And as Councilman Broadway said, this is the best budget in his 12 years, and definitely the best budget in my 8 years that I've ever seen come before this council. It's lengthy. It's very it's detailed. It has a lot of numbers in it, a lot of line items and so forth. But every line item and every figure associated with that line item was talked about. This was not something that people threw together and said, okay, let's check it off and adopt it. This is a long, hard, discussed document here. Not one of us on this council enjoys the process of putting together a budget each year, because you have to make some tough decisions. You have to make some very tough decisions. There are things in here that will make the city better. There's some things in here that, there's things that are not in here that would have made the city better, but you have to establish priorities. I suspect that one can come in here and argue a plethora of line items and talk about whether it's justified or not. Was it carefully thought about? Was it accurate and so forth? Let me tell the public this. Every effort was made to research and come to a decision to identify and prioritize the items that are in this budget here. Every single one of them. This was not a list that some department manager gave to finance director and manager said, oh, this is what I want. They just said, okay, put that in there. They went through every single item, a long, arduous process. So it's not going to make everybody happy. No one likes to have increase, but I think we can all say that we're living in a world today that everything around us is costing more than it was a year ago or 2 years or whatever. We can't even get parts for some of the vehicles that we have had on order now for months because of the supply line. But we've allocated those funds for that. And so I want the public to know that this document that we talked about tonight and that members of this audience here came up and talked about was done with the best intents of trying to recognize and put together the needs of Goldsboro and to fund the services that you expect on a daily basis and do it within a fiduciary responsibility that we all have to you. So we'll come back on the 20th of June and finalize this, I hope, and then we move on to other issues. Another issue that came up has been spoken about is Ms. Adams. Again, want to comment to you and thank you for your interest in and support and positive comments about our police department. We understand, believe me, this council here understands the stress that this city is going through in our police department. If we could fill those 30 vacant positions tonight, we would. We would find the money to fill those positions. The problem is we don't have bodies to put in those positions. But we have another 80 some individuals out of the 108 that are authorized that do come to work here, that do come here with a mindset that they're going to try to do their best to make this city a safe city to live in. Is it going to be 100% safe? Are we going to quit hearing gunshots in the middle of the night? Probably not, unfortunately. I hear them all the time where I live. But that's the fact of life. I wish that instead of talking about a gun violence proclamation, we were talking about a period of time where we a peaceful, coexisting proclamation that we've gone 6 months without hearing a gunshot in Goldsboro. I'd love to hear that. Probably not going to happen, but we're aware of the situation. Our police department are a group of dedicated people. They put on that uniform every day and every night to go on duty. I've sworn them in many times since I've been mayor, and mayors before me have sworn them in. And I tell you something, it's one of the most important things that I do to recognize somebody that comes into this room here, holds up their hand, and swears an oath of allegiance to put their life on the line and in the protection of this city here. Every citizen of this city owes a debt of service and gratitude to those 80-some police officers and men and women that go out every day and serve this community. So it is always going to be an issue, I think, that we are going to hear from this day and time. But I want you to know this city council is much aware of the situation. In our budgets, we try to give the police the best training, the best equipment, and the best other needs that they have to do the job that they can. And so let's when we see a policeman, a policewoman, speak to them. Say thank you for the job you're doing. And they really do appreciate that, by the way. I think that's pretty much it. I again want to thank the council for their indulgence in this budget preparation. Our finance staff, our director has left here, but her and her team have done a wonderful job. Our manager, assistant manager, put in a great amount of hours and time. And hopefully will be adopted barring any additional changes. And if there are changes to be made, we'll make them. But at this point, I think we have a good document. And council, if there are no further business, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.